So, Karen, staying on the topic of mapping for the moment, uh, I really love this phrase that I find really resonates with folks when I relay it and I share it with others. But the idea that the mapping is more important of the map than the map, and a lot of folks have sort of in the mapping space they talk about the map is not the territory, but that to me is a little bit less compelling and less valuable than this idea of mapping separated from the artifact, the results, the outcome of the mapping. And so, can you share a little bit about what that means to you? Like, what is the big difference or the value of the mapping activity compared to the map that you end up with or the map that you're actually creating?
Yeah, great question. So and this is what I think excites all three of us about mapping. It is what happens while mapping is occurring that is the real power. And so one of the things that we noticed early on was that there was never a leader, and I, never say never, never say always, but there was never a leader and I think I can still say never, in clients that could accurately articulate the actual delivery of value to a customer at a high level. We're not talking, they don't need to know the process level. They shouldn't know the process level necessarily, but even to understand the flow of work from department to department or team to team, and understanding and very often very frustrated with the way work seemed to not flow well or have quality problems or whatever it was, and never understand how it all connects together. So part of the power with that visual is for the first time having every leader in that room be able to see how value actually gets delivered to, whether it's an internal customer or an external customer. And the other thing is that I find relationship building very, very important in leadership teams, especially. And there's often a little bit of rift and tension between leaders that value stream mapping, frankly, heals. And our clients report over and over and over that the healing doesn't reverse, that there's something magical that happens in those, in our case, it's 3 to 4 days together that allow this understanding. I mean, if we just all understood everything, we probably wouldn't have wars in the world, Lack of understanding creates this weird, tension that it's not healthy and it's not helpful and all that. So when they start seeing each other's pain in their areas, then they start actually having compassion and empathy for each other. And that in and of itself is powerful, moving the whole leadership team forward. So you're right, it's not really about that map. However, I will say the one thing about the map, the artifact that's the end stage of this thing, or actually more the transformation plan, that's the outcome of mapping. But let's go back to the map. It's a blueprint and it should be treated as such. It should be then, once the future state is realized and it becomes the current state, it should be an ever evolving living document that's plastered all over the place so that new hires can see where they sit in relationship to a customer, so that people can see, quickly what's flowing and what's not flowing. And it really stimulates this continuous improvement work when the map is visible, which is why it should not reside solely in a computer unless you're 100% virtual and working remotely, then it has to. But if you have a physical space, the map needs to be on the wall somewhere, or walls, plural. And people should be allowed to draw on it and say, hey, what about this? I mean, it should be, a continuous evolution of how a value stream performs.
I totally agree with that. And I think that's one of the kind of struggles I had with value stream mapping that really led me into the value stream management space that particularly pertains to digital value streams. So what I was finding was that initial mapping exercise was so powerful, and there were so many obvious benefits for people bonding and finding things out about each other and getting insights into what was happening. But it was a really human intensive task. And I really wanted them to treat it as continuous, but getting them to come back and revisit and effectively do the work again and look at what had changed, I found really difficult. So in terms of that kind of the map, the output, I think one of the things I've really discovered with value stream management is the ability in a digital value stream to effectively automate that map and the insights into it, to kind of, it's a shortcut to seeing what the map looks like and actually gives the teams a better chance to execute that continuous inspect and adapt life cycle that we look for.
Yeah, I often say, we're looking for continuous improvement of everything at a process level, at a value stream level, at product quality level, all of that. But what we mostly see is discontinuous improvement. So they go through a cycle of value stream improvement, like, okay, we got that one. Let's move on to another value stream and never look back. And so then, conditions change, the work system hasn't adapted to the new conditions. And then you get, kind of a messy value stream that can't perform well again. So if you don't keep at it, it's not gonna, the world in business especially moves really fast and conditions change frequently.